Hi, everyone. We're back today for the second part of our podcast today with Rabbi Ephraim Barker. A lot of our information, we are really going into some topics that maybe not usually you would even think about. But I think it's important for us to really be aware and explore some of the deeper thoughts, especially venturing into spirituality. In saying that, I'd also like to remind us and to emphasize that as far as mindfulness is not a spiritual practice. It is a ability to be aware of our surroundings and to anchor ourselves in a state of calmness when faced with life, anything with life, excitement, stress. And so that's mindfulness, and part of mindfulness is being able to pay attention to our surroundings, our emotions, our feelings, our breath, and then bringing ourselves through either meditation or positive thoughts, bring ourselves down to a calmness so that we can make a response in a peaceful and calm manner. In nursing, things can change in medicine and clinical settings. Things can change at a moment, and so it's very important to be able to take in information, respond to it with a calm response so that a positive outcome as much as possible can happen. And I think most people can appreciate that when it comes to your health. And I think most people, as far as mindfulness, can really relate to that. But let's face it, part of our being is, as far as talking from a holistic perspective, is our spiritual being. Now, realizing that there are many different belief systems, there's many different views of spirituality, and in a mindfulness perspective, that is also taken into account. And so that's how come with mindfulness practice, it's not about the spirituality. Spirituality is your connection with your being. In mindfulness, we take into account that the spiritual part of a person is different for many people. And so without any judgment, with non-harmful judgment, and with respect, we take that into account. And that's how come mindfulness is a practice that can be done regardless of anyone's spiritual belief systems. In our podcast today, we are addressing the spiritual aspect through the Jewish perspective. The rich information that is being shared, I think you can, at least I have found through my studies of Judaism, a lot of it is really mirroring what mindfulness is all about. And I don't think that's an accident, But I think it's something that as we go through, that there's so much changes going on in our world today, that I think it's worth exploring and taking in information that could be helpful, that can bring calmness to ourselves as human beings in a society where we're inundated with technology, and maybe learning how do we come back in touch with the real reality. How do we come back and break away a little bit from the busyness and from distractions, and with mindfulness and with a spiritual connection to our source? And for some, that may be a little bit uncomfortable. And so take this as information. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you do have questions about it. I hope you explore your questions and share your questions with those around you. So thank you for joining me today as we continue our podcast with Rabbi Ephraim.
Shalom, Eartha. I appreciate the, adjusting my camera. I appreciate the follow-up question on the interaction with the technology and how it's affecting students. I'll be very honest with you. I think that in many ways it's okay, it's good, right? Artificial intelligence, AI, interaction with computers, this is all great. But I do think there is something that's also very detrimental to only dealing with inanimate objects or, things of this nature, with computers, even though animation is coming through the computer in the form of video interaction and entertainment or education. Nothing can really replace, that one-on-one human-to-human contact. I'll give you a case in point, something that just recently happened last night. Excuse me. I had a lady, I was preparing for one of my classes for Hebrew with an adult, and a lady came to me and said, "Hey, when are you going to do your next cycles of Hebrew at the JCC?" And I said, well, next fall, there's plans to do that and have that ready, and stuff like that at the JCC, and they'll be posting and they'll have classes and get everything set up about midsummer, so forth. So what happened was she began to speak a little Hebrew, and I asked her where she learned it. And she gave all these sites, that you can learn Hebrew from. Duolingo, great. Hebrew Pod 101, great. Those are great sources, but nothing can replace, like I told her, that one-on-one interaction where you're learning with someone who's skilled in something and you're there with them face to face. I feel the same way, using that example. I feel the same way about educating my students. It's great to have these devices and look at them, but when you're speaking with someone from one human to another human, you pick up on nuances and things of that nature that is only a human can do, really. And the artificial intelligence and things of this nature, no matter how advanced it is right now, just simply cannot do that. Again, I think it's a useful tool, but I don't think it should be the main tool. And I think children and adults should have interaction with one another. There should be dialogue between them, and creating human growth instead of just artificial intelligence growth, but humanity growth. I think that's the most important thing, and that artificial intelligence growth is secondary. That's my opinion.
In mindfulness, it's important. A lot of things is important in mindfulness. I think one of the things I have found that is valuable and means a lot is the positive mindset, and how important it is to maintain a positive mindset. And yet, sometimes it seems the more positive we try to keep our mindset, the more things occur to get us off track. We all have different talents and gifts, and many of us have goals, different goals, and some of those goals are things we're not even aware of right now. And the reason why we're not aware of it is because we can see the goal, we can talk the goal, but when we try to move towards the goal, it's like those fun houses they have at these amusement parks, where you start walking down the pathway and then something jumps out at the side and it distracts you. And now, no matter what you do, your thoughts are not on the goal, but it's on what's going to jump out at me next. And that's like a scenario, an example. But how do we keep focused on our goal? And in addition to that, when you're talking about the inner world, what are you referring to as far as the inner world? Are you talking about we're in this world, or is there another world?
Shalom, Eartha. I want to try to answer your question. Like all of the obstacles and things that happen, the challenges. In Hebrew, it's really interesting. I always run everything through the Hebrew language. For me, all of the teshuvot, all of the answers are always within our language. So when we look at the word, for instance, the challenges or the obstacles that come before us, you have a word in Hebrew, it's called etgar. That's Aleph Tav Gimel Resh. And you already see, as we have an expression, before Hashem sends the issues or the challenges, he already has the cure, the answer. So when you look at the etymology of this word, you have the word et, which is Aleph and Tav, which from Aleph to Tav are all of the Hebrew letters in the alphabet, and then you have the word Gimel Resh, Gar, et Gar. The challenges of this world, Gar means to live. Like Ani Gar ba San Antonio. I live in San Antonio, right? So challenges also want to try to settle and live within your vicinity in order to, if you will, push you. But the answer itself is within the challenge. Just like the word in Hebrew, the word challenge etgar, you already have the answer. So one of the things that we see with the alphabet in Hebrew, for me personally, as a rabbi and as a Jew, is to use the alphabet through tefillot, through prayer, meditation, in order to synchronize both the internal world and the external world. When we're talking about the concept of merkava, the word merkav is another word for body that we live in, right? It's a component of the creation, because the creation is it's like multiplicity. It's there are parallel worlds and things of this nature, but you have to be able to keep your own physical existence through that challenge on task, and it is hard. It is difficult. There's no doubt. But one of the things to do is to have a set arrangement of prayers, for instance, that you do, that you're kavua, that you're consistent with. By doing so, you're able to reflect afterwards, after saying the external prayers, creating for yourself, if you will, vessels. These vessels are like a net that are thrown out into the ocean when you're trying to catch fish, and you pull the net back in order to get fish, right?